Hi everyone, my name is Heather and I'm the person behind Happy Puppy Truffles. Today I wanted to share with you guys another one of my collections, and I promised you guys I'd show you my bottle cap collections from the Final Fantasy series that Coca-Cola did a few years ago. This is actually my collection of all 24 figures that was from the first volume 1 in the collection of these. And what they basically did is they did a collaboration with Final Fantasy 7 and 8. So there's the characters from both games, and these are all the things that were available. There's actually basically 12 figures, and then there's 12 crystal versions as well, in a good red color to kind of match Coca-Cola, I suppose. And I wanted to kind of just show you guys what they look like up close. I just showed you Cloud here, of course, Cloud Strife. And these figures were, like I said, they were in these little, that's wrapped in saran wrap, but they were in these little bags that kind of rested onto the top of the drink. And you had no idea what was inside. You could, in theory, sort of, feel around inside and kind of know who you were dealing with. Cloud's, he was pretty easy with his cool little sword on the back of his back, and some of the other ones weren't really like that, and he had the really pointy hair on top, so that was sort of a giveaway for him. But you could also, sort of feel on the bottom if you tried to notice that with the ones here, this is the crystal version. You could tell the name is a little longer. They, just made Cloud Strife on one and then Cloud Crystal on the other. But you could kind of see how those looked there on the bottom. And the figures themselves, I was always impressed because I thought they looked really good. They took a lot of time to paint them well. I thought the design was pretty good on these. I showed you guys the, Kingdom Hearts ones, and I just didn't ever think that they quite matched the same quality level that you got with these. So that's Cloud Strife there with his cool sword and everything in the back. And then, of course, there's also the crystal version, which is basically the exact same, but just, without the paint. So you're getting all the same detail, same pieces of, the costume's the same, the weapons are the same, everything's the same. It's just not painted. So that's one of them there. And then, of course, we have Eros here. And she was pretty easy to recognize because of her weapon and, and her hair a little, although her hair is very similar to Sephiroth, so it can be a little tricky. But that's her here in the crystal form with her pretty eyes and stuff. So it's going to be neat to see what that new game is like when they take the new look at Final Fantasy 7 again. And then the crystal version of her, of course, with the same kind of stuff. And then you've also got, like I said, we have Sephiroth here. He was number 3. And he had a kind of similar weapon and hair to her, so you have to be kind of careful trying to find the two of them. But the big giveaway is his jacket, of course. That's fatter, and she has a skinny skirt on, so you could kind of have some good luck getting him. But that's his weapon. It gets a little bent being in the bag, though. It's a little tricky to get that to straighten out. But that's him there with the colored version, the painted version, and then the crystal version, of course, too. Both are very cool looking, of course. And then we have Tifa. She's, I know, a lot of people's favorite character. She's cute. Her hair is pretty easy to recognize with the long little bit. She was actually, if I recall, really hard to find. It took me quite a while to get my hands on her, so she was a little tricky. But that's her there. And these are probably like what you'd call a deforme style. The characters are more in a cute version than how they appear in the game. Later on, of course, I think in this, they kind of are, this is about accurate to what they look like, but of course, we have a chocobo, because you have to have a chocobo. He's so cute. So there's a chocobo. Yeah. And then a crystal chocobo. Because who wouldn't want that? Yeah. And then as long as we're talking about cute characters, there was Mogu. He's a cute little guy here. The only thing I thought that was a little tricky about him is that he does have these sections that are just a little bit discolored, and that could be also with time a little bit too, but his little wings back there and the top of his head, very, very cute. And so there's him, of course, and then there's the crystal version of him too. Very cute. And these crystal ones have kind of gotten a little sticky a little bit, and that could just be because of the humidity where I live here in Japan and stuff. It can be tricky to keep these kinds of things. And then here we have Squall, of course, from 8, and you could kind of tell him pretty easily because of this piece of, you know, the charm that kind of hangs off of his weapon here. So that made him a little easy to identify. But you've got him there. And his crystal version. And then we also have Rinoa. She's really cool. And her weapon is so unique that she was pretty easy to recognize and get, because there's not really anyone else that's like that. And then her crystal version too. And then, of course, we've got Cipher. And he's pretty easy to identify with his weapon standing up so clearly and so flat. It's easy to recognize him. And the crystal version of him, too. And then we also have Lagoona. And he's got his cool gun, which I think made him pretty easy to get to, because it's not, you know, his gun's pretty obvious there. But, in his crystal version as well. You can see there on the bottom. And then we have to have, of course, the cactus guy, Sabutenda. He's cool. I love him. He's so cool. So there's him here, and you could usually find him pretty easily because of the little guys on top there. But there's the name there on the bottom for him. And then the crystal version of him too. I like how his hair kind of looks like it's blowing in the wind. And then the last character in this series is Koyo Koyo. He's cute. And the face painting was a little different depending on which one you got. I thought this one was pretty cute, so I kept it. But he's a pretty simple figure. That's him there. And his name on the bottom. And then, of course, the crystal version of him, too. So, to have a complete set. But those, you can barely see his eyes. That's sort of the whole collection here. And I've just got the painted versions here. I put the crystal ones to the side, but you can kind of get an idea of what they look like. And just the beginning, this is actually one of the smaller collections later on. I think there's like 48 pieces to collect, which made it pretty hard to get all of them. But definitely, if you're a fan, there's something to look into. And I don't know if anyone's selling these as completed sets now on, you know, eBay and stuff, but these are definitely a fun thing to have in a collection if you're interested in them. So I wanted to share them with you guys, and I'll have some more fun things to share with you guys in the days to come. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!